What's up? Is she coming? I thought she was, yeah.
She is. She's 5 out.
Okay. I may redo the order if that's all right.
Yep.
Is that okay with you, Dan? Mayor, you good? Chanel? Ready to rock? Bob, you good to get going? Tom? All right. Where's Jeremy? There he is. That's all right. Just want to make sure I know where you are so I can see you. Good afternoon, everybody. First to Jeremy Flounder Lees and his wife and twins and his team here at Flounder Brewing. I could not possibly think of a better place for a guy named Murphy to start the week. So thank you so much for hosting us, Jeremy. And by the way, we've seen the plans for your expansion. You're hoping to be there in March or April. And I promised on behalf of all of us, and I suspect I've got a lot of kindred souls out here, we'll all come by and maybe later in the day and knock a few back with you. All right. I want to thank this. This is an embodiment of, we say this a lot, it takes a village, all levels of government and both sides of the aisle. And there are many examples of that here today. So I want to thank, by example, Somerset County Freeholder Board Director, soon to be Director of the County Commissioners, Chanel Robinson. Bless you. Melanie Morano is with you. Brian Levine, two other very good friends are here with us. Mayor Doug Thompson, thank you to you and your township committee members, deputy mayor and colleagues. We got Somerset County Sheriff, dear friend Darren Russo is in the house. Darren, love you, buddy. My chair, not politics today, no politics, but Peg Schaefer's in the house. Peg, honored to have you with us as well. And a cavalcade of other elected officials, candidates at all levels. I'm honored up here under the tent to be joined by a great team of leaders, each of whom we've been working with and alongside throughout this pandemic to put New Jersey in position to come back stronger, fairer, and more resilient than ever before. Before I go on, Fanwood Mayor Colleen Morris here, who works with Somerset County in her other part of her life. But Colleen, great to have you here. I walked up to her, I said, Colleen, you don't live here, which she readily admitted, by the way. So here at home in the state of New Jersey, our team starts alongside of me, and she'll be here in a few minutes, our extraordinary Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver. She's also the Director of the Department of Community Affairs, which is particularly relevant for today's announcements. And I'm incredibly honored to be joined by two outstanding legislative leaders. Please help me welcome Senate President Steve Sweeney, Assembly Speaker Craig Coughlin. I've lost them, but two members of the General Assembly are here. Andrew Zwicker. Andrew, God bless you, buddy. And Hillsborough's own Roy Fryman. Roy, where are you? Right in front of you, Roy. I apologize. Perhaps it was the beard and mask combination, so forgive me. So thank you, guys, for being here as well. We're also joined by the CEO of the New Jersey Economic Development Authority. Tim Sullivan is in the house. Tim, great to have you. And the Commissioner of the Department of Human Services, Carol Johnson. Carol, honored to have you. So in the category of it takes a village, that's none more so evident than in our partnership with the folks who represent us in our congressional delegation, working day in and day out in Washington. And I don't know where we would be, and I mean that literally, without the tenacious advocacy of a guy to my right, Senator and newlywed Bob Menendez. Senator, bless you. And right to my right, more immediately, the guy who represents this district, Congressman Tom Malinowski. Tom, thank you for everything. And they have been a pincer attack in Washington to get us the coronavirus relief funds, not just that we've already received, but more funds that we hope to receive, and they're fighting for that every second of every day. I introduced her slightly in absentia. Let's hear it for my rockin' partner in government, the one, the only, the singular, Sheila Oliver, Lieutenant Governor. I said really nice things about you, Sheila, just not 3 minutes ago. So getting our state past this pandemic and moving forward has been and remains an all-hands-on-deck effort, whether our offices are in Trenton or in Washington or here in the county or here in town. We are all pulling toward the same goal, both protecting our economy and in particular the small businesses that are the backbone of it. Each of us up here and so many in the audience today could talk about a small businessman or businesswoman we've met who is concerned for the survival of their dream. And so far, through the Department of Community Affairs, the Economic Development Authority, and others, we've been able to put roughly $150 million in business assistance out onto Main Street, New Jersey. And through the EDA, specifically, Tim, to you and your colleagues, we've helped more than 20,000 businesses. And by the way, and this is a particular badge of honor, nearly half of those receiving emergency grants and loans being minority, women, and veteran-owned small businesses. So I thank Tim, to you and your team on this milestone achievement. And today, we're about to do more. We are proud to join together, all of us, this morning to announce an additional $100 million from the Coronavirus Relief Fund to keep our economic recovery moving. In other words, we're ready to help businesses like Flounder Brewing not just get through this unprecedented time, but emerged, primed, and ready for growth. So let me walk you through real briefly how that $100 million breaks down. The biggest slug is $70 million, and that's more of Phase 3 of the EDA's Small Business Emergency Assistance Grant Program. And in particular, I'm proud that half of that $35 million, will be targeted to help our food service industry, stay open and stay viable. So that's a big step. So that's 35 of the 70. Of the remaining 35, 15 million will be set aside to help micro businesses with no more than 5 employees and which have been uniquely vulnerable to the crisis. So 35 million specifically to food service, 15 to micro businesses, and then the balance of that 70 or 20 million will be straight ahead extension of the Business Emergency Assistance Grant Program. In addition to the 70, we will also put more, $10 million more to be exact, into the EDA's PPE Access Program. So businesses can purchase the face masks and gloves and other personal protective equipment that their employees need to stay safe from the coronavirus. So on top of that, we'll invest $15 million more. Sheila, and you've overseen this from day one. This is now another $15 million into our rental assistance programs. And then in addition to that, we'll put another $5 million into programs to help families who are not only facing economic hardship, but who are also living with food insecurity. You add all that up, that's $100 million of new coronavirus relief funds. On top of that $100 million, the Department of Human Services, under Carol's leadership, and again drawing on coronavirus relief funds, just unveiled a new $12 million program of rental or mortgage assistance for eligible households that have suffered financial hardship because of the pandemic. This new assistance program can help ensure that more of our families remain in their homes. No one should fear losing the roof over their head, especially through no fault of their own, and especially not during this pandemic. So all of this together, if you're keeping track, for you math majors, this is now up to $112 million today of new money. All of this will help us keep our economy moving ahead and our families working, even as we continue our work to not only defeat the virus, but to deliver even more critical aid to our families and our small businesses. I am tremendously proud of the commitment everyone around this podium and this audience has shown over these past 7 months, now almost 8, in coming together in partnership to work toward a common goal, a stronger, fairer, and more resilient New Jersey. And make no mistake, we are not out of the woods yet. And to put a fine point on that, we announced almost 1,000 new cases of COVID today. 7, sadly, with the heaviest of hearts, we announced 7 more fatalities. There are 649 persons around the state in hospitals. In Somerset County, Chanel, to you and your colleagues have not escaped this. 23 new positive cases today. That's now over 6,000 in this county alone. 2 of the fatalities today are from Somerset County, and there's over 500 in this county who have lost their lives, 512 to be exact. We still have work to do, in other words, to beat this virus. We still have so much we have to do together, not just us up here, but all 9 million of us who call this extraordinary state their home. But so long as we stay together and stay focused, there is nothing that New Jersey cannot do. Again, I thank all of my colleagues and partners, and I once again thank Flounder for hosting us, and I can't again wait to visit your new brewery when it is complete in the spring. And again, to all levels of government and both sides of the aisle who are with us today, deep, deep thanks. It is now my honor to introduce my partner in government, the one and only, our Lieutenant Governor, and also someone who oversees the Department of Community Affairs, which is right in the center of a lot of what we're talking about today, Sheila Oliver.
Thank you, Governor.
Bless you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Governor Murphy. Appreciate that. I'm pleased to be here today with our great U.S. Senator, Senator Menendez, and he has definitely been fighting hard for us in D.C. to get this CARES funding. And he's continuing to fight for us to get support for our municipalities and our counties. So I want to thank him for that. Thank you, Senator. And by the way, you know, he is the longest running senator in our state. So that means he is effective and he is doing the good job for us. I want to thank Congressman Malinowski as well. And to my former colleague in the legislature, my former partner in the State House, Senate President Steve Sweeney. As most of you are fully aware, this pandemic has had a devastating effect on our communities, from business closures to record-setting unemployment numbers that have led to housing instability and food insecurity all across this state. Populations of people who have always been gainfully employed, who have always been able to support themselves and their families, find themselves strapped because of this pandemic. And don't forget those who have lost family members and loved ones because of this disease. We're in a global struggle, really, and we have not seen anything like this for 100 years, dating back to, as it's been reported, the Spanish flu in 1918. This pandemic will have lasting effects, but it's not going to last forever. You know, great scientific minds and great medical practitioners are working diligently to try to find a vaccine to protect us. Much like Superstorm Sandy, which hit us 7 years ago, we're going to be able to show resiliency, and we'll come out of this crisis stronger than we did before. Governor Murphy always describes to the cabinet that when we get through this, we are going to spend time doing a, quote, post-mortem. We are going to examine our response as a state to this emergency, how our state agencies and departments were able to respond to the needs of the people of New Jersey, and it will be used as a roadmap if ever leaders in the state will have to deal with something like this again. The announcement today is a welcome addition to the recovery efforts we already have underway. This will help serve those who need it most, our small businesses, our main streets, and our tenants. In July, the Department of Community Affairs announced the COVID-19 Emergency Rental Assistance Program. The program was designed to provide rental assistance to low and moderate income households that have had substantial reduction in their income as a result of COVID-19. We also have focused attention on those who are homeless or at risk of being homeless. That program that we've established will provide eligible residents up to 6 months of emergency rental assistance. Since the Emergency Rental Assistance Program initially launched in July, we have received nearly 60,000 applications. 60,000. We know that the need is great, and with this new funding, we will continue to serve the needs of eligible individuals who have already applied for the program. So, if any of your constituencies applied back in July and they were unable to be accommodated, please tell them to check their emails and their mail every day, as we are contacting more people from the wait list. We anticipate being able to provide approximately 1,700 more people with this assistance that the governor is announcing today. We're working tirelessly as we continue to push our programs to the limits in order to serve as many people as possible. I also want the business community to know that in addition to what goes on at EDA, we in DCA also fund and operate programs designed to support small businesses. We have the Neighborhood Preservation Program, we have the Main Street New Jersey program, and we also operate the low income tax credit program for those that will partner up with a financial institution. In that program, financial institutions make a contribution into a trust, and with that trust, a nonprofit organization can apply. They can do housing. They can do, a corridor in a town that houses small businesses. So at the end of the day, we've been working hard on a lot of fronts, and I know progress may seem slow to some, but I am very proud of the response that our cabinet, our commissioners, and more importantly, the governor has made to put New Jersey way ahead of many other states. So I want to thank you, the people of New Jersey.
Thank you, Sheila. I lost track of Terry Tucker, who's also here, and I want to give Terry a shout out. Mike Delamater is here. Dan Bryan, we got a whole bunch of our teammates here. I want to thank them. So I mentioned the phrase, it takes a village, and it's certainly when you're talking about coronavirus relief funds, not only have we war-gamed it within the state with our legislative colleagues, with our cabinet, certainly with Sheila, but we're nowhere without our representatives in Washington. And I mean this literally, we're not here today without the two guys who are up next to bat. First, from the House of Representatives, this is his district. He's a guy who's on this like nobody's business and is staying on this to make sure that we get more support out of Washington, which we desperately need. Please help me welcome Congressman Tom Malinowski.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor Oliver, Senator Sweeney, Speaker Coughlin. Thank you, everybody, for coming to Hillsborough. And thank you most of all for announcing this latest round of funding from the CARES Act for our community. I think 8 months now into this pandemic, it's pretty clear that the CARES Act was one of the most tragically necessary and successful pieces of legislation that Congress has ever passed in the modern era. I think you would agree with that, Senator Menendez. In my congressional district alone, we have delivered now well over $1 billion just to small businesses to help them stay afloat through the Paycheck Protection Program. And I was just speaking with Jeremy. One of those loans came to this business and helped it stay alive through this pandemic, helped it keep employees on payroll. That legislation kept our economy from collapsing. In Hillsborough alone, 729 small businesses received direct assistance under the CARES Act, $60 million just to Hillsborough alone, supporting over 6,400 jobs just in this one community of the state of New Jersey. And what we're doing today is the product of a lot of work over the last few months with the governor's office to continuously supplement that direct federal assistance with additional support from what the state received under the CARES Act. This is not the first, and I assume it will not be the last tranche of assistance that we receive to supplement that direct federal aid. Now, as the governor alluded to, we all understand, we are under no illusions that this is enough. We are still in the midst of this crisis. We see signs that it is spiking again. We are worried about what is going to happen as the weather gets colder. And so I'm particularly pleased that this particular round of assistance is being directed at our most struggling, our most vulnerable small businesses, particularly restaurants and bars and dining establishments. We have asked so much of them. They are the mainstay of our community, and they are going to need more help. As you know, we are now engaged in a negotiation in Washington to get another round of assistance, to get another major relief bill passed. There is bipartisan consensus that that next round should include an extension of the Small Business Loan Program, the PPP. There's bipartisan support for legislation that I co-sponsored in the House that creates a special dedicated grant program, not loan program, for our restaurants, for our bars, for our entertainment facilities. So if we get a deal, I'm confident that that will be part of it. A deal should, and I think must, include more support for our schools. And it absolutely must include more and less restricted direct support for our state and local governments that are bleeding revenue right now because of the economic shutdowns associated with this crisis. This has been arguably the main point of contention in these negotiations, and Senator Menendez and I have absolutely insisted we are not going to accept legislation that does not provide that direct support for our state and for our local municipal governments. And the good news is now that because we have held out, because we've taken a tough line on this, and by the way, in these communities, it's bipartisan. We had 55 of our local mayors and county commissioners, Republicans and Democrats, write to Senator McConnell and Speaker Pelosi months ago asking for this assistance. And the good news is that the White House now, after making an initial offer of absolutely zero, is now coming to the table with much more substantial offers of assistance for our states and localities. And the latest from the president is he says, go big or go home. I take that as a good sign and as an affirmation of our strategy of holding out for something that will help the state of New Jersey. So I'm hopeful that we reach a deal soon, and that when we do, it will put your body and your Majority Leader, Senator Menendez, on the spot, and we'll see whether the Senate is more interested right now in continuing to work on the Supreme Court nomination or in actually helping the people of the United States. Thank you so very, very much.
Thank you, Tom. Well done, buddy. Thank you, Tom. By the way, go big or go home was a phrase we've been using for months, so I love to hear that that's now being spoken on both sides. The House went big. Senator Menendez, who's up next, was with immediately, by the way, many months ago, not last month, not the month before, sought out Senator Cassidy, Republican from Louisiana, and the two of them realized that this was far more a bipartisan reality than it was any day a partisan reality, and came together, and that's what we need. And this parking lot today speaks volumes about that. Again, I don't know where we'd be without him. We need both chambers and the White House to get there, and the Senate doesn't get there without this guy. Please help me welcome our senior senator, Senator Bob Menendez.
Well, thank you, Governor. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm pleased to be here with Governor Murphy, with Congressman Malinowski, who is a fierce advocate for the people of the 7th District, to Senate President Steve Sweeney and Speaker Coughlin, and all of the distinguished local, county, and state public officials who have joined us. And I want to thank Jeremy as well and his family for hosting us here at Flounder Brewing and for doing everything you did to keep your employees working during this difficult period of time. It's a testament to your philosophy beyond good brewing being a good company. So we salute you. 2020 has been a great year of peril for our state and our country. Here in New Jersey, we have lost 16,000 of our own to COVID-19, a staggering number if you think about it. Moms and dads, brothers and sisters, grandparents, aunts, uncles, and friends gone forever. The United States has suffered more deaths than virtually any other advanced nation, and more than 7 million Americans have contracted the virus. And when the American people could not look to President Trump for leadership, they looked to governors like Phil Murphy, who were willing to speak the truth, listen to science, and make tough decisions that save lives. So, Governor, once again, let me thank you for your leadership, and the Lieutenant Governor. It was tough, but it saved lives in New Jersey. Thank you very much for what you did. I want to also recognize my colleague, Congressman Malinowski. He has been a true fighter for hard-hit states like ours that need relief from the economic fallout of the pandemic. And Tom is, as I said, a fierce advocate in the Democratic caucus, in the House of Representatives, to stand up for these critical elements. Sometimes people say, well, why don't you guys just agree on something? Well, something doesn't solve the problem. We need the type of comprehensive effort that gives us the resources to continue to do the testing and the contact tracing. We can only return our economies to a near normal when we can convince New Jerseyans that their trip to the store, the mall, the brewery, or anywhere else has been largely contained in terms of the risk of the virus. So this is an essential part of what we have to continue to fund. We need to help the states and municipalities, I'll talk about that in a moment, and counties at the end of the day who have suffered great loss as a result of the tough decisions and the revenues that were lost. We need to make sure that we have the resources to keep our police and firefighters and emergency management and public health nurses. The very universe that's essential to us in the midst of the pandemic are the ones that are at risk if we do not help them. So that's why when Tom has stood up and said, no, this is not good enough, it's because we need to get it right in order to change the course of events. And I want to thank Senate President Sweeney and Speaker Coughlin for working side by side with the governor to help make these federal coronavirus relief dollars accessible to the people most in need. I appreciate their leadership. And I know that my colleague, Senator Cory Booker, would have liked to have been here today, but he is in Washington as a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee asking tough questions of the Supreme Court nominee. And I'm sure Senator Booker will make us proud during those Judiciary Committee hearings. But I know he would, as I would, rather have the Senate working to pass another coronavirus relief package. Indeed, the President has made it clear that stacking the Supreme Court to overturn the Affordable Care Act, and I say this because the President has been very clear. I take the President at his word when he says something. He's pretty transparent in that respect. He said, I am going to nominate someone to the Supreme Court who ultimately will strike down the Affordable Care Act. The Affordable Care Act that gave millions of Americans, millions of New Jerseyans, hundreds of millions who have a pre-existing condition protection, women with special health needs taken care of under the Affordable Care Act, being able to keep your child to the age of 26 under the Affordable Care Act, being able to make sure that there is no more lifetime cap on your insurance. So if you had a major illness, you were one illness away from bankruptcy. All of that was protected by the Affordable Care Act, which I helped write. That is sitting before the Supreme Court. The President made it very clear. I will nominate someone who will hold the view to strike it down. I will nominate someone who will strike down Roe versus Wade. I take him at his word. But instead of pushing a late-term nominee for the Supreme Court, we should be pushing through a new relief package that is comprehensive. That's why millions of renters in our state and in our country are waiting to see. It's why many people who own a home and can't make their mortgage payment are waiting to see. It's why many businesses are waiting to see. And that's why I want to commend our state leaders for working together to get the federal coronavirus relief dollars that we passed into the hands of those who need it the most. The $100 million fund announced today by the governor and the lieutenant governor and our legislative leaders comes from money that in Congress was included in the CARES Act to help combat the economic fallout of this pandemic. As the governor laid out, federal money will help struggling New Jersey small businesses stay open, especially restaurants, eateries, and bars currently on the brink of closing forever. And there's assistance for some of the smallest businesses across our state. These grants and loans can help them pay employees and help them meet their rent, pay the mortgage, and stay afloat in tough times. In addition, these resources will expand access to personal protective equipment. That's important because we want employers and workers to be able to stay safe on the job. And I'm glad that $20 million of this $100 million pot will go to rental and food assistance for those who need it the most. I can't tell you how many times I've now met a New Jerseyan who for the first time in their entire life, who've worked hard, played by the rules, are online at a food pantry to get food assistance. Shouldn't be. And I'm proud of the billions in aid that we have already delivered to New Jersey by the CARES Act, but we need to do so much more. This bill was never supposed to be our last legislative response to the worst pandemic in 100 years. Consider our restaurant and food service industry. One of the great things about New Jersey is the cuisine from any culture in the world is just around the corner. Many have tried to make do with outdoor dining and delivery, but nationwide some 100,000 restaurants have already closed, many more on the verge of going under. That's why I've sponsored the Restaurants Act in the Senate. It would provide $120 billion in structured grant relief to these entities to stay afloat. And we also need to help hard-hit states recover from the 1-2 punch of soaring coronavirus response costs and plummeting state and local taxes. That's why I wrote the bipartisan SMART Act, which would deliver $500 billion in aid to state and local governments in their hour of need, targeted to communities that suffered the highest COVID-19 infection rates and lost revenues due to the economic fallout. This work brought together Republicans and Democrats alike. My colleague, the Republican senator from Louisiana, joined me in it. The Republican senator from Mississippi joined me in it. The Republican senator from Maine joined me in it. This is not a red or blue question. This is a red, white, and blue question. We are in this as a nation together. And I appreciate very much that these ideas were incorporated into the HEROES Act, which Congressman Malinowski helped write and pass in the House, along with a whole host of measures to help jobless workers, hungry families, renters, and homeowners on the verge of eviction and foreclosure, and so much more. Now, last week, Speaker Pelosi and Treasury Secretary Mnuchin were making real progress on a compromise bill. That was before, of course, President Trump abruptly halted those talks, and Mitch McConnell announced there would be no action until after the election. To me, that's pretty outrageous. We cannot have no action till after the election, and there is no reason to have no action until after the election. The Senate will go back into session next week. If we can take the time to consider a Supreme Court justice, literally a couple of weeks before an election, we can take the time to pass a relief package that will help millions of Americans across the country. As I said from the outset way back in February, it's going to take a coordinated federal, state, and local response to defeat COVID-19. And I can tell you that Congressman Malinowski and I won't stop fighting for New Jersey and for the nation. When we pass this crisis, and we will pass it, I think about it. Sometimes we dwell upon the challenges we have. But I think about, in my time in Congress, I've seen some incredible moments. I was at the Capitol on September 11th when that fateful plane was headed there, and proud and courageous citizens knocked it down in Pennsylvania. I was there when the chairman of the Federal Reserve said we had to act emergently to stop what would have been a global depression during the Great Recession as a member of the Senate Banking Committee. And I was here in New Jersey when we went through Superstorm Sandy, the worst natural disaster our state hit. And while each and every one of those moments were rather dark, the day after brought light. We created a homeland security and intelligence operation that has stopped any attack upon our nation. We built back stronger under our financial system so that systemic risk isn't the responsibility of all of us individually. And we built back stronger than the storm, and we are more resilient today than we were in terms of any natural disaster. So I see a rising sun for our state and our nation, not a setting sun. But because we have to learn from the past, we've learned from the experiences that have taken place in our life, and that's why I've written bipartisan legislation to create an independent 9/11 style commission that will review what went wrong, what went well, and determine how to better respond to future public health emergencies. Congressman Malinowski has joined me in that effort as a sponsor in the House. We're lucky to have great partners in Governor Murphy, Senate President Sweeney, Speaker Coughlin, who are doing everything they can with the limited monies they have to get into the hands of struggling New Jersey businesses. This crisis is far from over, but we New Jerseyans are tough and resilient. We don't back down from any fight, and whatever knocks us down only makes us stronger. And that's what we'll be after this period of time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator. So well said. Thank you for your leadership. And again, Congressman Malinowski, for yours as well. I don't know where we'd be without you guys in Washington. Senator Menendez previewed this, and that is there are a lot of states that just sort of go off on their own, whether with the congressional delegation or in the governor's office only. And the three of us made a commitment, Sheila right beside us, from the get-go that we were going to make sure that we were not only read into our actions together, but that we could be architects together. And that's what makes today even more gratifying than it otherwise would be. And again, we've got great legislative partners. And please help me welcome two great leaders. First up, Senate President Steve Sweeney. Steve?
First, I want to thank our U.S. delegation. Senator Menendez and Congressman Malinowski, we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for your tenacity ensuring that funding happened so that we could do good things like Governor Murphy is proposing today. And Governor, I want to thank you and Lieutenant Governor for actually doing this and picking this location, not because we like to drink. Which we do, but picking this location because this is about the American dream. You know, talking to the owner, it's Tom, right? Jeremy. When he said that he quit his job to create a business and that dream was going to go away. That dream was going to go away because of a virus. Not because he made bad beer or couldn't make beer. He's just doing a great job. He's growing, everything was going well. But a virus was going to shut down his business, his dream. So, Governor, this is what I know the Speaker and I were hoping we could get done here, that we would focus on our small businesses, our restaurants, to ensure that we help them further along the line. And I know when Senator Menendez says we're not done fighting, I know we'll be successful in getting additional revenue to get us through this, because you're right. This is not the first incident where we've had tough times, and it won't be the last. But we're resilient people and we get through things. And we will get through this as strong as ever, because the saying, Jersey strong, is true. New Jersey's greatest asset is its people. It's people that know and believe in what can be, if given a chance. So, Governor, again, thank you. I thank the Lieutenant Governor, because this goes right at the heart of one of the most pressing issues we have right now, is helping our small businesses survive. And Senator and Congressman, keep up the great work. Thank you all.
Amen. Great job. Thank you. Thank you, Steve. Amen to all of the above. Nobody's going to keep us down. Again, great legislative leadership in both chambers. And Sheila, I know, joins me in that. I can't imagine what it would be like if we didn't have that partnership. Please, again, another terrific leader. Please help me welcome the Speaker of the General Assembly, Craig Coughlin.
Thank you, Governor. I'm surprised you didn't say finally, because that would have brought a cheer from everybody. But it's a pleasure to be here with everyone, and I thank you all for coming out. I thank my colleagues, Andrew Zwicker and Roy Fryman, for being here, and the Freeholder Director, Chanel, thank you for being with us. And thank you all for coming out to this terrific place. And I want to thank Congressman Malinowski, Senator Menendez, and, of course, my colleagues in the legislature, Sheila Oliver, who held my job. She still will tell you it's the best job she ever had. When she was in the legislature, and of course my partners, Governor Murphy and Senator Sweeney, for being here today, because this is an important announcement. You know, as we were crafting the budget, we recognized that we had some decisions to make, and one of the decisions we make was to make sure that we did all that we could for as many people as we could, so that when we got to the point when there was going to be a recovery, the hole wouldn't be quite as deep. And I think that is one of the things you see manifest here today. This $100 million is going to go to a lot of people who really need it. You know, at the time when our need was the most profound, our resources were the least. But we found a way through the hard work and dedication of our federal partners to have resources to help those people who really need it. We all know how important the restaurants are to the fabric of the economy, particularly for people who don't make an awful lot of money. We recognize that people are still standing in food lines, and so we need to make sure that they have the resources. I'm proud of the $20 million we put in the budget, and this supplements it even more. I've made challenging facing down hunger one of the things that was at the center of what we do as a state, and I'm proud of the work that we've done, and this is another step in that regard, because, you know, as Senator Menendez pointed out, so many people are still waiting in line. All you need to do is turn on TV. It's still there. People who are traditionally donors become recipients. And we have a moral duty to make sure that everyone in this state has the opportunity to be fed. And the people who can't pay their rent aren't doing that because they don't want to. People don't do things like that because they don't want to. They do it because they can't, because they have to make other hard decisions. And the side benefit of this is there's a lot of small landlords too. And so when the renters get money to pay their rent, landlords will be able to hold on to their house and not face losing their investments. So this is a really good and exciting day because the people who need this money the most are going to get it. And when we do, we're going to be able to make sure that there are jobs that are still hanging around. And so that when that recovery comes, as it will, and we've heard all of us talk about how resilient the people of New Jersey are, and we are, and how their bright day is going to come, and it will, and how tomorrow will be better. We know the recovery is going to come. By doing this, the hole that we have to dig out will be a little less deep, and the recovery will be more profound. So congratulations to everyone who worked on this, who everybody thought of these good ideas, and especially to our federal partners who have a challenge ahead of them to make sure that we get all the money we need and deserve. And I know they will. So thank you all for coming out, and thank you for letting me be a part of this. Thanks.
Thank you, Speaker. So Election Day, by the way, that's a wrap. Election Day is 3 weeks from today. I don't care who you're voting for, what side of the aisle on, vote. And today is the last day, unless my colleagues correct me, that you can register online to vote. Again, I don't care what party you're in, but register and then ultimately vote. I want to again thank Senator Bob Menendez, Congressman Tom Malinowski. We would not be here without you. Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver, as always, Senate President Steve Sweeney. Craig, Speaker, to you and your colleagues, Roy and Andrew. Jeremy, thank you for hosting us, buddy. To you and your wife and kids. We're looking forward to coming back when this is open. Madam Director, to you and your colleagues. Mayor, to you and your colleagues. Sheriff, Chair, to each and every members of the Cabinet, Tim and Carol. To each and every one of you, thank you so much for coming out today, for all that you do. This is a quintessential New Jersey community and county. And we are the quintessential American state. Thank you all, and God bless you.
How are you? Good. So proud of you. Thank you.
Chanel, love you.